Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Vendetta Sports and Media Daily Show. It is June 2nd, 2023, and we're ready to talk some NBA. Game one of the NBA Finals happened last night. So, Jack Sabin and me will be discussing that a bit. So, I guess we'll hop into some of that. But before we do, Jack, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing quite all right back home for the little brother's graduation, but so that's always nice. But I don't think I'm doing quite as well as you may be, Mr.
Oh,
Jerry.
man, it was electric. I actually flew into Denver the other day, went to game one last night.
Oh, you were actually at game one?
Yeah, I went there
Oh,
last
that's
night, so that
awesome.
was so sick to be at. But great result for the Nuggets. But we'll hop into that then. So, Jack, I mean, obviously, Nuggets won 104 to 90, what, 90, yeah, 104, 93. What were
Yeah.
your kind of just thoughts on that game? Is that kind of how you expected it to go?
For a game one, I think it kind of went how I expected it to go, especially with the Nuggets having at this point. I don't know how many extra days of rest the Celtics ended up giving them, and I think that kind of goes a little both ways a little bit. I think or not the Celtics, the Nuggets maybe also were also a little unconditioned just from not having played it for that long, especially once
Yeah.
the Heat kind of came in towards the end and
Mm.
fought back and made it close. But like I don't want to say this game was like boring because it wasn't like a boring game,
What is it?
but it was just kind of like it seemed like it never really got close. The
Mm-hmm.
Nuggets would kind of go up by like 15, and then the Heat would bring it to like 10, and then the Nuggets would go on like another 5-0 run, bring it back to 15. It just seemed like the Heat could never really get it below that 8 to 10 point range.
Yeah.
You know, they just kind of they just kind of went cold. I mean, Caleb Martin, been one of their best players. He went cold. Max Strus going 0 for 10 from the field. Duncan Robinson 1 for 6. And I think Matt Hannafin talked about it last night, where he's not. If you're a Heat fan, I don't think you need to be too worried
No.
after last night. Your defense wasn't horrible. You gave up 104 points to the Nuggets. That's probably going to give you a chance to win. You're probably not going to have as bad of a shooting night as that again. And again, like I mentioned earlier, they were able to, kind of close the gap towards the end of that game in the fourth quarter and make it a close game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very rare that we'll see the Heat team, and it looked like maybe some fatigue was involved in this on a short turnaround. Like you said, the Nuggets had damn near 10 days off between game four of the Western Conference Finals and game one of the NBA Finals. So I was really surprised that Jimmy Butler only finished with 13. I think that's got to be a tip the hat to Aaron Gordon for his defense in that, and just the whole Nuggets defensively kind of shut him down. Which, if you can do that, then it forces these other guys to have to make their shots. And as we saw last night, they really weren't. Which, again, I don't. I kind of agree with you to the point of like it's not something to really be worried about yet for the Heat because obviously win the two at home, and if the Nuggets can win the two at home, Miami can win the two back there, and then it's just kind of best of three series after that. So nothing really too much to worry about, I would say, because they'll come back better. There's no way they have as cold of a game in game two,
Definitely
which
not.
it'd be if they do, then it'd be really, really surprising. And I don't know,
Celtics
but
fans would be on a watch list if that happened.
oh, 100%.
But yeah,
So
and I think the other thing to note too, especially with Denver, is, and I think you and me have even talked about this before, was just like the home court advantage for
mhm.
Denver is on a whole nother level. Like not even in terms of fan support. Like I'm sure obviously Denver does great home attendance at this point, but just based on the elevation alone, I mean, especially when you're coming off what the Heat were on 2 days rest, I think, like
Yeah.
two and a half,
So
like something like that. So, like you're coming off 2.5 days rest. You're also traveling up there too, and then you get into this game and you're playing at I don't know how high up
it's a mile. Yeah, a
Denver is.
mile.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, mile high basketball. So yeah, you're a mile up, and it gets hard to breathe there. And I think you could definitely tell, especially in that first half. I think the Heat were still kind of literally catching their breath.
Mm. Yeah, because I mean, at halftime it was what 59-42. The Heat kind of just didn't look like they'd gotten into it, and to that point of the elevation, it's kind of what the Nuggets need to use to their advantage to an extent. It's That's why they're partially 9-0 now at home in these playoffs. Is they'll just run teams ragged, and then with the elevation, especially for a team like Miami, who they just won an intense 7-game series going back and forth with Boston, but both of those are pretty much sea level.
Yeah,
So
you're not
not
getting too
exact,
high or
yeah.
too low at any
And
point.
I think that's something that would have been completely different had they closed out the series earlier, as they would have gone to Denver, had time to acclimate a bit.
Yeah,
Because from what I know, it's I personally never really felt much of the altitude difference, but I know people who have come into Denver, and it takes a day or two really to adjust to it, and especially when you're playing sport at that high of a level and that
yeah,
intensity of it, it's something the Nuggets need to take advantage of, and that's why I always think back on the elevation stuff to like the older Nuggets teams with Melo and then Ty Lawson, where
just running
the
everywhere.
entire the entire thing was just sprint up and down the court, see if
J.R.
the other team can
Smith.
catch up. But it was
Yeah,
always
just
a
they were just always so transition based. And I remember like Kenneth Faried
yeah.
from those teams. I used to love the Manimal. I think
Oh,
that
man,
was
it's so
that was
much
his
fun.
nickname,
Yep.
Kenneth Faried, when he was like really really good for like that 2 year stretch. He was like the first like one of those undersized centers because he was like what
He was 6'8" or
6'9"?
6'9", and
It
they
was
had
six
him.
eight.
They usually had him at the power forward, but even then, he's still undersized
Yeah,
for
but
that position.
he was still always down there though, absolutely dogging people.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I used to love those teams, and I don't think obviously like this Nuggets team plays quite like that. I mean, it's a
no.
different NBA now. I still think they do a good job at picking their times to
Mhm.
go out quick and get in in transition, but they also I feel like obviously don't do it as much because they have Jokic now, and Jokic just can't.
He's not
No,
exactly that
yeah,
quick
yeah,
up and down the court.
yeah. That's not his game. Just sprinting,
Yeah,
up and down the court. So, and that's part of what I think the Heat need to do for this next game is it just seemed like the Nuggets had their way inside the 3-point line. I mean, the Nuggets, from what I can remember, weren't necessarily shooting, amazing from three, but it was
no,
just like they had every single look they wanted from inside the arc, and
Mhm.
they just give the ball to Jokic, and the Heat were sending them all sorts of different looks, and just every time, he would just make the right pass, and then somebody had a mismatch. It seemed like every time a Nugget was touching the ball,
it was
it was a mismatch. Somebody on Miami was guarding them who shouldn't have been, especially
yeah.
Aaron Gordon starting off
Yeah,
that game. I
I
mean,
was gonna
every time
say
he grabbed the ball, he was cooking someone.
he was an absolute mismatch machine because I mean he's the Nuggets power forward, and they were I want to say they started with Jimmy Butler maybe guarding him, but even then that's still a mismatch because Aaron Gordon's a strong guy as well. That he's just
Yeah, I
always
mean,
he had his way down low, especially in that first quarter. It was felt like he had 10 points before anyone else really tuned in and the game was underway. It was just
yeah, and I
mismatch
mean,
after
you
mismatch.
saw the Heat try to give Cody Zeller some minutes just because they needed the height,
Mhm.
but it was just like, I mean, Cody Zeller, even when he was out there, it wasn't really an inspiring 8 minutes. So,
Nah,
yeah, I mean, I definitely think pure size is going to be an issue for this Heat team. But on the other hand, Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches, arguably the best coach in the NBA.
yeah,
He's making adjustments right now. He's gonna, he's not gonna be able to neutralize or stop Jokic. Jokic is so dynamic and so good, but I don't think he's gonna, you know, let what happened last night happen and just
mm-mm.
let Jokic take 12 shots and still seem like he's like dominating the game
Yeah.
just
I mean,
inside the 3-point line.
yeah, because I mean, he finished once again with another triple double, getting 27 points, 14 assists, and 10 rebounds. But it was that whole first half. I mean, really, up until the fourth quarter, it felt like he had 7, maybe 10 points. And then he kind of took over in that fourth after they tried to change up the looks at him. But that 14 assists goes to the point that you were saying of just every time he had the ball, he was finding the open guy and they were knocking down their shot one way or another, whether it was Jamal, Michael Porter, Jr., Aaron Gordon. KCP had a pretty disappointing game offensively, but still they didn't need him to have that much when Jamal had 26, and you get guys like Aaron Gordon getting 16. Overall, just a strong performance.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the big thing for this Nuggets team. You obviously know what Jokic is going to give you. That's not going to be a surprise at any point. And, I think Jamal Murray's kind of getting back to that point. He's kind of seeming to look more and more like his bubble version of being more of that consistent scorer. But yeah, I mean, guys like if Aaron Gordon gives you 16 points on 7 of 10 shooting, the Nuggets are gonna probably be winning a good amount of their games. And Michael Porter Jr. didn't have the most efficient game, but I mean, still had 13 rebounds and almost a career high 1 assist. I mean, God, I love watching. That's part of why I love watching the Nuggets, because I just love Michael Porter
Oh,
Jr.
that's great.
Just love every single time the ball gets passed to him. It's just instant shot.
He's
I think the one
never
assist he
seen a
had
shot he
too.
doesn't like.
Yeah, he's never seen a shot he doesn't like. And I think the 1 assist he did have, I'm not even sure it was like purposeful.
The
I'm not
ball
even
just
sure he
kind of
tried to pass it.
it just kind of bounced off him
Yeah,
and
I think like the
went
ball
somewhere.
got like hit and then it bounced off his like knee or something and then went right to Jokic.
Hey, just how he drew it up.
Yeah, but like his jump shot's so pure too. Like his form is so nice.
Yeah.
You're 2 of 11 from 3. He's probably not going to be that bad again, but
No, and I mean,
God, even this was even a game where usually if Michael Porter shoots 2 of 11 from 3 and 5 of 15, that's usually a pretty bad game for Michael Porter Jr. because
yeah.
he's not usually doing too much else. But to his credit, last night, he was hounding the glass, and he was even playing some solid defense. I mean,
Mm.
2 blocks for Michael Porter. I know he had that really nice chase down block. I
Oh
can't remember
yeah.
who was on,
I can't
but yeah, I
remember.
mean, he was kind of there, even playing good defense. So I think that's what's gonna make this finals really good, is that
Yeah.
both teams like really, really want it. Both of these are kind of gritty teams that are gonna go the extra
Mm-hmm.
mile to win to win. And I think it's gonna make for some really exciting basketball.
Absolutely. And I mean, on the Michael Porter note, yeah, defensively, he was a stud with the 2 blocks. He finished plus the game high plus 20. So it showed that he was, every time he was out there, the Nuggets were doing something well, whether it's offensively, defensively, kind of just controlling the game. And that's something that I'd like to see moving forward, is him actually on that defensive end stepping up again, because typically that hasn't been his game. He's been an offensive guy,
Yeah.
but it's now he's using his height. He's a 6'10" small forward.
Yeah,
There's
he
not
has the
many
build to
guys
be.
that can guard that on the Heat, which that's another, back to the point we made earlier of the Heat are a little small compared to the Nuggets. When you got your small forward at 6'10", it's a tough matchup for anyone on that other side.
Yeah, I mean, guys like that don't grow on trees. 6'10" small forwards who can move like that. I mean, he really has a build to where he could be probably an elite level defender. And I mean, I've always said I feel like even in today's NBA, like stuff like defense and rebounding is just so much based on like hustle and like
Mm-hmm.
how much like you actually want to be a good defender. Like, Marcus Smart just won Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, realistically, I don't think Marcus Smart has, these God-gifted abilities that other NBA players his size
Mm-hmm.
don't have. What makes him such a great defender is he throws his damn body on the line. He sells out for steals, puts his body on the line for charges. He's just a really gritty, crafty player.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, the guy like Michael Porter Jr., if he's going to start showing that he's willing to play defense, I think that could be huge for this Nuggets team.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, for me, that's one of the big differences from Nuggets teams in the past compared to this one, is that defensive aspect where there are guys stepping up. KCP, Bruce Brown, obviously Aaron Gordon's been guarding the toughest guys in the league this playoff. So everyone's kind of stepping up, and it's a team thing that they're all seem like they're on the same page offensively and defensively, where makes it a little tough for opponents to kind of keep up and match both sides, because as we know, the Nuggets were a high scoring offense this season, and that was their concern in coming in the playoffs, was one, would they be able to continue that, which for the most part they have, I would say, and then defensively, are they going to be able to still limit teams? We saw that in the finals. But I guess my next question for you, next little topic, what needs to change for game two? For I guess we'll start with the Heat because they came out on the other side. What do you think they need to change?
Um, yeah, I mean, I kind of mentioned it earlier. I think one thing that he kind of have to change is just change up some sort of the defensive, change up some sort of the defensive look, and just not give the Nuggets as many just
Mm-hmm.
wide open layups and dunks. I mean, I was watching that game last night. There were so many instances. Murray makes a pass, and then Aaron Gordon catches the ball, and there's nobody within like a foot of him inside the paint. So I think they need to hunker down defensively and kind of change up the looks a little bit. I know obviously they're trying to throw Jokic off, and you obviously have to. 'Cause you can't just let him operate at his pace because that'll just kill you. But it seemed like a lot of times Bam was out of position, and he's kind of serving as like the only big man in that rotation in that starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever he was caught out of position, that Nuggets offense, whoever had the ball, they just saw it right away and would just make the pass. So I think they need to do something to try and prevent that, because if you let the Nuggets just, get free looks at the rim, they're just going to absolutely kill you, because then that's going to start opening up the 3-point game. And then, guys like Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., then they'll start eventually hitting threes. And then that's when it becomes impossible to stop this Nuggets offense, because then you got to worry about Jokic doing his thing, and then everybody else starts getting hot from the 3-point line.
Yeah, and that's just a dangerous combo because, as you mentioned earlier, Jokic can find. It seems like he's always able to find that open guy, whether it's behind him
Mm,
or in front of him or wherever. He can find that open pass, and I'm expecting a little bit of the same from the Nuggets in Game Two, considering it's still in Denver. But as far as like the Heat changes, I I find it hard to think that like this wasn't just one of those off nights for
yeah,
them. With everything was kind of against them, having to go seven, having to travel ice cold shots were kind of a theme in that game for them. So I think they kind of just need to get back, reset, and go again on Sunday, which that's a big thing for them. Instead of it being a one off day, they get two off days. So a little bit
yeah.
more time to get used to everything, acclimate to the altitude, which is a good thing for them. But we'll see. And I guess, do the Nuggets, do you think they have to change much, or do you think it's kind of we're just going to go at it like we did in Game One?
I mean, realistically, there's probably always something that can change. I mean, obviously, these guys just see stuff on a completely
Hmm.
different level. But I mean, realistically, I don't think the Nuggets really need to change anything. I mean, I think at the end of the day, this isn't exactly how the Nuggets want to win games, but I feel like this was pretty close to the formula for how they want to win games.
Hmm.
Kind of get off to quick starts, run your opponent ragged, and then kind of hold on a little bit towards the end and rely on your defense a little bit. But,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of the same thing with the Heat for the Nuggets in terms of 3-point shooting. They were 8 for 27. It's not really, it's just something that probably just happens on account of being an off night. But for the most part, I think the Nuggets should try, especially offensively, and kind of use that same game plan of just let Jokic dominate the ball and try
Mm.
and pound the ball inside as early and often as you can.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like that inside game was another stat just looking at that kind of fascinates me. Miami only had two free throws. They were 2 for 2, where Denver was 16 for 20. So maybe that's something that Miami needs to change, get a little more aggressive down low offensively and try and draw those fouls. But because it seems like they were just jacking up a lot of long mid range shots that weren't falling. But as far as Denver goes, the only other thing I can really think of that you didn't mention is I would have liked to see the bench step up a little bit more.
That is a good point.
Obviously,
I was gonna say I don't
Bruce
know how much Bruce
Brown,
Brown played.
Yeah, Bruce Brown had 10 points in 21 minutes, 5 rebounds. But then Jeff Green and Christian Brown, they played a combined 19 minutes and had a combined
Yeah,
4 points. Wasn't much from the bench. The three of them, only Bruce Brown was a plus. So maybe get the bench going a little bit because I don't know how manageable it is if Jamal's playing 44 every night. Jokic has 40. Michael Porter has 40 plus minutes. So that might wear on him down the stretch, but
Yeah, they're
also
on that
it's,
Tom Thibodeau
yeah,
mindset right now.
exactly. Just to run that 8-man rotation, which is what they've been doing all playoffs. But I don't know. I would like to see a little bit more success from the bench just because if there is a game where the Nuggets kind of find themselves struggling with their starters, say Jokic is having an off night, who's going to be that to step up? And that's kind of the one thing I'm looking for going forward.
Yeah, that is definitely a fair point. Yeah, and I didn't mention it, but I think the Nuggets, you're right. They could definitely be a huge benefit for them, especially when the Heat are running, I mean, such a deep rotation. I mean, it's almost like they have
Mm.
an entire second lineup that they're running. But I think it's also for the Heat because they kind of have to. I mean, the Nuggets were afforded all this extra time off, whereas the Heat, it's like we said, they won their game, hopped on a plane to Denver. And it's like, all right, well, we got to play now. So it's like they kind of can't, tell all their starters to just play 40 minutes. So I don't know if
Mm.
that maybe play, is playing a factor for the Nuggets where they're just like, well, maybe these first couple games we can just kind of not use our bench as much and just kind of, use our starters
Yeah.
super heavily since we know that the Heat are still recovering.
Mm. Yeah. It's definitely that mind mentality and kind of that mental aspect of it. But I guess one more question for you on this series. Tyler Hero could be coming back for game two. I've seen reports, could be game three. If he comes back, how much do you think he changes for this Heat team?
It's weird because I've even seen some like things online and like some articles talking about on if the Heat have actually been doing better because of the Tyler Hero injury and if it's
Mm.
somehow allowed their offense to operate on a smoother level and generate more ball movement. But I mean, I still think the addition of Tyler Hero at this point helps this Heat team
Yeah.
for no other reason than depth at this point. Like obviously he'll probably be starting or I don't know if they still use him as purely the sixth man, but he'll be getting like starter minutes regardless. But I mean, it changes the series certainly a little bit, but I don't think it's necessarily some groundbreaking revelation that would shift the balance. Like I had the Nuggets winning the series in six before all of this. I probably wouldn't change that even with Tyler Hero coming back.
Yeah.
Obviously I mean, to me, he's just like a upgraded version of Duncan Robinson. Like he's just, like a slightly better version. Like he just kind of does everything scoring wise better than Duncan Robinson. I mean, maybe Duncan's just a better pure 3-point shooter, but Tyler Hero's just kind of like overall a better scorer,
Yeah.
but still kind of a liability on defense. So I think, the Heat definitely become better with Tyler Hero
Mhm.
coming back, but I don't think it's necessarily something that's like, oh, well, now I think the Heat are going to win.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a series changing addition, but I do think it'll benefit them a little bit. If, like you said, just anything else, it'll be an extra body they
Yeah.
have. And I still can't imagine, even if he does, when he does come back, he won't be at full health, I wouldn't
Yeah,
imagine.
no
Just
chance.
because, and I know talking with Matt Hannafin yesterday on the Daily Show, he was saying that it's kind of, wouldn't be surprised if we see him on a minutes restriction, which
Oh, definitely.
could be something to keep an eye on because maybe only gets 20 minutes and he's not able to do what he has done in past postseasons and what we know he's capable of doing. But at the end of the day, if he does come back and he is the way we know he can play, then it's definitely something else to kind of keep an eye on for the Nuggets. Just add another guy you need to cover and guard because I think he's an upgrade on any of their three guards that they play for the most part.
Not Caleb Martin, though.
Yeah, that's true.
You and
Caleb
our
Martin's,
legend,
yeah,
baby.
Caleb Martin's a dog.
Yeah,
But
I've been loving. Cause yeah, I mean, I go to UNR, and
okay.
the two of them, the Martin
Oh
brothers,
God,
are.
yeah,
Oh, sorry, my phone's going off.
you're good.
They're like
They're
easily the
legends there.
players that come from UNR in
Yeah.
recent history. I still think that story
What?
of how the Heat got Caleb Martin
Oh, absolutely.
with J. Cole, it's just such a random and weird story.
Is that what it was? They got
Yeah,
him like
apparently,
Jake.
like I mean, I've heard it. Maybe it's not true. I've heard it
No, I
enough
don't
times
know.
where I believe it. But I guess like Caleb Martin somehow had a relationship with J. Cole, and they were like somewhat close. And J. Cole is talking to like Heat executives. I don't know if he was like actually talking to the owner or whatnot, but he convinces them. He's like, "Hey man, you should give this Caleb Martin guy a workout. Just try him out, have him come up. Trust me, you're gonna like him." And sure enough, he tries out with the Heat. They liked him, and they ended up signing him. And now,
That's sick.
he's been a huge contributor to their playoff run so far. Because his brother, Cody
Yeah,
Martin, Cody Martin was
yeah,
drafted. I think he's on the Hornets now.
yeah. I
I want
can't
to say,
remember.
but
I
yeah,
remember watching them at UNR, and they were so fun to watch because
yeah,
I know ASU played them a couple times. I think once while I was there, and they were just dogs.
yeah. That was a year
They
I
were
think we
solid.
lost to like the Sister Jean Loyola Chicago.
Oh yeah, but is there anything else on this series that you want to talk on before we hop into some other news?
Not really. I guess I'll ask you. How confident are you feeling going into the rest of the series?
I mean, I'm always a pessimist when it comes to my sports teams for the most part, or the teams I follow closely. So never gonna be confident, but this is one of the ones that I actually feel like it'll be Nuggets in 6. I can see a way that it's Nuggets in 5, but I don't think that'll happen. Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat are too tough. Spoelstra's too good of a coach to let
Yeah,
that happen. So
he'll make
I think I
adjustments.
think it's going to be a very hard earned series win for either team, really. But I do think the
Definitely.
Nuggets are going to get it done in 6 and
It's gonna be a grind. And
bring
then
it
I
home.
just want to ask you one more thing. You said you went to the game. What was kind of the atmosphere like? I know I'm sure in Denver. I mean, they've been
Oh, the
itching
atmosphere was
for a final.
electric. It was so much fun because I mean, I remember growing up going to some games, and when we had the Mellow era and all that, the crowd was great. The home court was awesome. The crowd was intense, excited, just loud atmosphere, and the kind of died off for a little bit. But these last couple of years, it's come back, and the atmosphere for the first ever finals game in Denver was amazing.
Oh, I'm sure.
Loud and rowdy for 48 minutes. So
Is the stadium? Is it like right in like downtown,
yeah, yeah.
whatever
Ball
downtown
Arena
Denver
is
would be?
right in downtown Denver.
Okay, so that's good. So you kind of get
So it's
that
very easy
atmosphere
to get
too.
to. And I know they had watch parties around the city, around downtown, that they were getting packed for. But overall, this whole series has a feeling that kind of like the Avs did last season, where if they don't get it done this year, they'll never get it done. And I think the city of Denver has kind of realized that also, and everyone's coming out. When I was driving home from the airport on Wednesday, saw a ton of people set up their like tents outside and were selling Nuggets gear all over the place just on the streets. So last time I
Yes.
can remember anything like that really happening was maybe when the Rockies made the World Series in 2007. Even for the Broncos, it wasn't as exciting and intense,
I mean,
but
yeah, that's what I love with sports is when it's just like you get literally like the whole city involved. And yeah, especially when it's like something like a Nugget situation, because this is your guys' first appearance, right?
yep, first ever finals appearance.
So yeah, I mean, when I heard you went to the game, I was like, oh man, I gotta hear what it's like. I've never been to an NBA playoff game, so
Okay. It was so fun. I mean, the last time I went to a playoff game before this season was I think when they lost to Portland in Game 7 a few years ago, the year before the bubble.
oh damn,
So that was a complete different atmosphere from then because there's actually that sense of, oh shit, this team's actually really, really good and might actually do it this year. So still planning on flying out for the parade if it happens, but we'll see. Got to win 3 more. Series
yeah.
is
Would you
not
only go
over
to
yet.
that game?
Yeah, I'm only going to that one, which kind of lucked out because my mom shares season tickets and she was giving them for that game. So
Also, you didn't even have to pay.
I paid like 300 to get her a ticket, but it was it was super
Okay, I
fun.
mean that's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all, but hey, I would have spent $700 probably to go to one. I didn't get
Yeah,
to any of the NHL finals games last year and was kicking myself about that, so I had to go and get back
yeah.
for one of these
You were
Nuggets
like, I
games.
don't care about the price. You're just
Yeah, this is why
yeah,
I
like
work. But no, we'll move on to some other NBA news, Frank Vogel was announced that the Phoenix Suns will be hiring him as their head coach. What do you think of that? Because I was kind of surprised when I saw Frank Vogel's name up there because I was kind of expecting them to hire either not Nick Young, who Matt Young, no, whoever their assistant manager that was on the chance. But
Yeah, I'm
I'm
drawing a blank
completely
on the
blanking on
name.
his name right now. Kevin Young. Yeah,
Kevin Young.
it was between Kevin Young, Doc Rivers, and then I guess I was thinking they might have gotten Budenholzer, but
Yeah,
I don't know. This
Budenholzer
was a
was probably the name that I was most expecting. He was in my mind was probably like the highest echelon coach available in terms of his kind of resume and accolades. So that to me seemed like the direction the Suns were gonna go.
yeah,
Was gonna go with Budenholzer, but yeah, I mean he wasn't even in. It sounds like in the finalists.
no, it's gonna be interesting. Do you think like because I mean we saw Frank Vogel win the NBA championship as the head coach of the Lakers in the bubble. Now he gets to play or gets to coach Kevin Durant, Devin Booker. Who knows what else this rest of this team's going to look like though come next season. So I think he's got a
Yeah, I don't
very
know if it's gonna
tough
be
job at the
anybody.
moment.
I don't know if it's gonna be anybody outside of the two of them.
Yeah,
And I mean, I just think teams nowadays are firing their coaches just way too quickly. I mean, I they just always hold him as the scapegoat.
yep.
It's just always like, oh, well, we underperformed one season, so it's like, all right, we're gonna fire you. And it's like, man, it just seems like sometimes, like Monty Williams, it's like, I think I just went coach of the year, got you guys to the finals, and then I mean, yeah, you guys had a letdown, but
He's not the one playing.
it's like, is that realistically all on Monty Williams? Because the thing too that frustrates me, and I would imagine would frustrate me as a head coach, is it almost seems like they never get any of the credit when stuff goes good,
But
but then stuff goes bad, and then somehow it's all their fault.
yep.
And I'm just like, okay, well, seems like you're not giving it to them on both ends. It's just
No.
like stuff goes good. It's oh well, the players are playing good, and then it's oh well, the team's losing a bunch, and it's oh well, what the coach isn't doing good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was surprised with some of the teams that did end up firing their coaches. And I mean, the Suns definitely being one of them. I don't know if Frank Vogel's an upgrade over Monty Williams personally.
I'm not sure either. It's
So it's, I guess only time will tell. I mean, as Vogel, he hasn't been coaching, right?
no, I
Since he
since the
stopped with the
late.
Lakers.
I don't think so. Look,
This is the fourth time he'll be a head coach. The Lakers, Magic, and Pacers.
I
I
mean
mean, he's always been,
he coached the Lakers up until 2022. So
yeah,
since then he hasn't. Yeah.
the thing is too is from what I can remember, he's usually been more of a defensive oriented coach or
With
more defensive minded, and the teams that he has are usually better defensively. And I just find that interesting because that to me is not what this Phoenix
yeah,
Suns team is a team that's gonna win on defense. So like the complete opposite where it's just like we're
and
just gonna
shoot.
outscore you
Yeah.
every night.
I wonder if that has anything to do with that hiring. Is like maybe they want someone who is defensive minded to come in and try and fix
Change
all
the
the issues
culture.
they have. Yeah, change the culture, make it more defensive minded. But then you need to bring in defensive players because
Yeah.
obviously Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, as elite as they are on the scoring end, never really been known for their defense, and maybe that's something that he'll need to change. That's kind of why I thought Budenholzer might go there because he was very defensive minded as well, at least in Milwaukee. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. He has a
Yeah.
lot of work cut out for him because the Suns need to figure out their roster after their two stars.
Yeah. They just need depth. I mean, yeah, they just kind of need a whole roster reconstruction here. I mean, you got the two stars to build around. Aiton, I mean, like it's just they're
Do you,
gonna trade him.
I was going to say, do you think Aiton and or Chris Paul come back next season for the Suns? Or do you think they're both kind
Oh
of
well,
on the out?
Aiton's definitely. I mean, they're definitely going to trade Aiton, I'm sure,
Yeah.
because they know that Aiton's going to leave as soon as he can. So they're
Yeah.
probably might as well get some sort of value out of him. Chris Paul, I don't know. I don't know how many more years he has on his contract. Chris.
I don't think
But
it's.
I mean, I don't imagine the Suns like signing him after his current contract's up.
Yeah.
But okay, so I think he's got this up.
He's got this
He's
year
paid
one
from
more.
2023 to 2024, and then 2024 to 2025.
All right, so he's got 2 more years.
And then yeah,
on his
he's
contract.
unrestricted in 2025, the off season of 2025.
Yeah. So, I mean,
So yeah, 2 more years. So I mean, I don't think there's really probably no trade value for Chris Paul. So I think he'll probably can be on this Suns team next season just because there's really nowhere else he'll go.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone will trade for him.
Because no one really wants that contract for a guy who's
Yeah.
38 now or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, unless he retires, that's the only way I don't see him.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ayton, I definitely think will not be a Phoenix Sun, at least by the end of the season. Maybe they start off with him and
Trade him
trade him
by
at
the
the
deadline.
or
Yeah.
something. But
Because, I mean, there's going to be teams that are going to want and need a big man like Ayton. And sure, he's disappointed in the playoffs at times, but he still is one of the better centers in the league, in my opinion, at least. It's, I think a team
he has the tools. Is the thing.
is the execution that just hasn't been there
It just
really.
seems like he's so lazy sometimes too.
Yeah.
Like offensively and defensively, he just like sometimes just solely tries to rely on his height and his build instead of like actually, kind of being crafty. Because he could be such an elite defender.
He could be.
And he just isn't. But I think another thing too, and I didn't even think about this until right now, is I mean, clearly the relationship between Monty Williams and DeAndre Ayton was just horrible. I mean, it was just like every other week, it was something else was coming out about the two of them hating each other. So maybe somehow Frank Vogel comes in and is able to mend the relationship somehow. I mean, it sounds like Ayton's, dead set on getting out of there and doesn't really want to be there. But I mean, who knows? Maybe Frank Vogel's able to come in and somewhat mend the relationship.
Yeah. Because if he can and fix Ayton into get him back into the defensive mentality that we can see him at, and like you mentioned, you think he could be an elite defender. That's a dangerous Phoenix Suns team with all three of those guys clicking.
Yeah,
so
if he can be the rim protector that he was supposed to be.
Yeah, because I mean, you mentioned like how he's been a bit lazy. That's something I noticed in the Nuggets and Suns series was it looked like he kind of given up just trying to guard Jokic. Every time down,
he's going to score anyway.
Open look, or it's like why even bother? It was giving Jokic easy open shots half the time. So, besides that news with Frank Vogel going to the Suns, I think there's not been much else. I know something I just want to pick your mind on. Adam Silver came out last night after the game one and said that John Morant's ruling will be announced following the NBA Finals. What do you kind of expect from that? Do you think it'll be a season-long suspension or?
I mean, I gotta be honest. I do not know. I don't know what the NBA is gonna do here because I think what they should do is give him a pretty significant suspension because, and not just for the act itself, but the mere timing of it. I mean, it was basically a FU to the league is what he did.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he does it the first time. The league and Adam Silver come out and they're like, can't do this. This is bad because X, Y, Z. John Morant gives his half-assed apology and then does it like a week or two later. I mean, it's just he's basically like saying like, oh, well, you have rules, but I don't care. I'm not going to follow them. So it's like, I mean, do you want to give him another slap on the wrist? I mean, you saw what that's going to lead to. It's just going to lead to him likely doing it again. So I think at this point, they got to give him more than just a little slap on the wrist and say, don't do that again, Jaw.
Yeah, because I mean, he got hit with what, an 8-game suspension after the first incident?
Something like that. I remember.
I don't know. I think it'll have to be. I would like to see the NBA come in and give him like a half season suspension, if not longer, just because
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm
if it
thinking.
was the first, if you do it once, maybe it's just bad judgments. Shit happens like that, I guess. But you do it a second time, it's a trend starting to
Like
form.
right after
And it
too.
wasn't even like, yeah, it was the
It was like a
same.
week or two
Yeah,
after.
it was so bad. It's just that poor timing, but
It's just like, dude, the optics of it all. It's just like, how are
just like,
you? I don't know. How are you that stupid? Like
it's just kind of
you're an
common
NBA
sense
player,
to
and
an extent, but
it's not even like he was one of these guys who like actually, grew up in the hood and came up and had it rough.
yeah,
It's like his parents, from what everything it sounds like, had him living a pretty
good
comfortable
life.
life growing up. Like,
Yeah,
it wasn't like he was out here struggling like some of these other NBA players we've seen. So it's just I don't get it. But what I think was hilarious too is I don't know if you heard about this. His like signature shoe came out like last week, and it sold out in like
oh
seconds.
yeah, and then Nike took it off, didn't they? Isn't it? Is he with Nike?
I think he is with Nike.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that's wild.
Like
But
within
that's like,
seconds,
but that also just shows that we can
in the
talk about it.
midst of everything.
You talk about it with the NFL, where sometimes being good at a sport, you kind of push the other stuff underneath, and it's money talks louder than anything else at the end of the day. So that's another
It's
example of
business.
it. Yep, it is a business after all, and with a guy like Jaw, who is one of the more popular guys in the league. He is so fun to watch when his game's on, explosive at both ends, just a overall enjoyable guy to watch on the court. It's this off court stuff that's a little bit concerning, and we'll see what Adam Silver and the rest of the league does in a couple weeks. So keep an eye on that for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued to see the direction they go. Because again, I don't think you can give them another nothing
Yeah,
punishment.
it'll
I
be a
think you're
hefty.
just sending a message that he can do whatever he wants if you do that.
Yeah. And it's like that's not a message they want to spread. And they make it all about the league being family friendly and all that. When one of your stars is waving guns around,
Yeah,
not
and the league
not
did
great.
such a good job, and it took them so long to kind of cultivate that image.
Yeah.
Um, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank on the commissioner
Oh,
before?
David Stern.
Yeah, David
Yeah.
Stern.
Oh, he did a
He was
great
the one
job
who
on that.
came in, and the NBA was in a really not good place at one point. It was kind of going down a bad direction where a
Mm,
bunch of the play, I mean, there was like the Malice at the Palace incident and
yeah.
all that stuff, players interacting with fans and then doing stuff off the court. The NBA was starting to get a
It
really
was going
bad
to, yeah.
reputation because of what these players were doing, off the court. And then, Stern came in and really like put his foot down on that
Yeah.
and really started, punishing these guys for this and was like, no, we're going to turn the NBA into a worldwide, global market.
Mhm.
And he did just that. And he's pretty much, at least in my opinion, responsible or largely responsible for where the NBA is
Oh,
today.
100%.
And it's like, you have to, kind of maintain that image.
Yeah. All right, Jack. I know you got to head out soon, but is there anything else you want to discuss at all? Or
No, I think that's pretty much it.
well, thank you
I'm
guys
sure
for.
you're happy.
Oh yeah, can't wait for game two. Game two Sunday, but there's going to be a lot of other news coming out over the next few days. I'm sure with coaches and all that.
Yep,
So
there always is.
always something. So definitely keep an eye on the Vendetta Sports Media website, Twitter, our YouTube channels, Twitch channels, because we'll be having all that latest and breaking news coming out there. Jack, thank you for joining me as always. It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys
Of
for
course.
watching, and we'll see you guys next time.